All right, good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, August 12th, 8:30. It's time for our meeting here. We'll call the meeting to order, and our first item is to approve the agenda, but we do have two agenda additions. Number one is a resolution to authorize exploring feasibility of future migration of police fire radio communications to the public safety statewide armor system. And number two is appointment to canvass board for primary election, 2 commissioners or appointees to be held Thursday, August 14th.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with additions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, we'll move on to citizens to be heard. Do you have any citizens to be heard today on items not on the agenda? Dwayne, do you want to use the microphone? Good morning.
Yep, good morning. Dwayne Erickson's my name. And just a little bit of a follow-up. Can you hear me okay?
Here's
On last week's meeting, or was it 2 weeks ago, I don't remember, I come to apologize to Frank, Commissioner Gross, that I maybe waffled on him and didn't support that, that bridge or that Texas crossing northeast of Yolen. And I felt I kind of threw up my hands and gave up on it because it was so far in the process of the bid letting and all those things. It seemed foolish to do something at that point. But I think in thinking about it, I also apologize for the watershed not taking the aggressiveness to pursue it when they knew it was on the table. And that would be apologizing the administrator and your administrator, Brian, and the engineer also had a permit to go forward, but that particular spot in 2002, when they had the heavy rain in the summertime, I think it washed a bridge out on the park, which is on the west side of 32, and they even closed 32 a bit. And Colin Peterson's suggestion was to slow the water down. And when I saw that proposed cost of $500,000, I thought, hey, here's an opportunity to work together. And I think the bid came back, was it $366 for that part of it, if I remember right. I had trouble hearing that day sitting there, but still wish that we could have did something. And again, thanks to Commissioner Gross for showing the interest and following up on it. So hopefully we can do something like that in the future. So, because it's so hard, I'm your water board appointee, and it's so hard to get anything done. But if we could do more project that would be cooperative. And I'm a small project guy, meaning if you took that project that had just short of 900 acre feet and cut it in half, and that would have satisfied the guy on the downstream of the dam, which is he's probably, Steinerman would be 500 feet. And he was interested, just so he knew that would work. Wayne Zimmerman is the guy on the east side, which would be close to his property. And when I talked to him, his first question is, hey, when are we going to slow the water down? And I know you guys are all passionate about that. And I apologize again for the watershed, and sure appreciate his support.
Okay.
Any questions of me?
No, I don't think so. John, you have a comment?
Well, just doing it, my understanding is that the engineer feels it will slow the water down because it's not going to go over top anymore. It's going to be built up.
Well, there's two, and I might be wrong in the dimensions. I read the engineer's report. They're 12 by 16, 60-foot box culverts. I'm guessing it'll slow the water down some.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's engineered, some, but it...
Yeah, because before it was allowed just to go over the top, and then it was uncontrollable, right?
Right, Texas crossing, they just crossed over. It's been a Texas crossing for a long time. I mean, I'm back to my kids were in school 30 years ago, probably, but,
I think it's going to let more water go at the beginning, so it won't back up quite as fast, so. But, Dwayne, there's no apology necessary to me, because I was glad to see your interest in that, and I think you had a very good point in what you're saying, and I got interested in the project too. I thought it made sense what you were saying, so no apology necessary to me.
there's not very many of those kinds of spots, that would have worked to some degree. And granted, like coming from the watershed, you'd have to do a multiple, to help. And I think, and this is my frustration. if we have to do a multiple, like 2 or 3 or 4 of them in a series on that particular south branch, if we can't get the first one done, I mean, it seems, in my thought process, it's so energy-driven to do a multiple, like 4 of them at one time. Can't we get the first step done and have a blueprint, move forward?
Well, that's kind of a good thing for your watershed board to work on.
Well, I remember the question you asked me twice, but, you know, it's just tough. It's tough to get,
It is tough, isn't it?
it's just, you know, I watch and listen to the diversion topics, and nice article in my paper this morning, John. I'm on your side. So, okay. So,
All right.
but
Anything else?
anyway, geez, call me if you see something I'm missing, and that's what I'm here for.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any other citizens to be heard? All right, we'll move on. Approval of bills.
So move.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. And now we're going to move into our 2015 budget discussions. And our first one here is a budget recap with our Administrator Brian.
Right here. You gotta have a brains in the outfit over here. In case we have any questions. What's one between two? Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We're making our way through the budget process. Lori and I have met with several of the departments, and as the memo states, that what we're doing right now is we're just meeting with them for clarity and making sure that their budgets are accurate and that they're accounting for certain revenues and different things, because it just seemed like we were a little short on revenues, and we've been picking up some here and there that haven't been registered and recorded and things. So that's what we're doing right now. We're not trying to evaluate whether their program is valid or not, or their additions are. We're certainly visiting with them about it, but that'll be the board's decision to decide where those go and what direction you want to give us. Lori did receive notification of the county program aid, which is being reduced $24,900. The new amount is $2,866,547. You know, and hopefully as we go forward, we will get more clarity from you folks as to what direction you want to go on this. I know we haven't even talked percentages wise. The summary sheet that's attached, just please remember this is very preliminary. It's adjusting every day with every department that we talk with, but we want to keep you guys abreast as to what is going on. You'll see that the general fund revenue is showing 8.34 increase. Please remember that we have included that health care increase of $460,000. That's all in the general fund right now, identified, and that will be spread over the other funds that when that is distributed. So, you know, social services and things, they will be spread. So you're seeing a tax levy increase on the first category there of 4.82, but then the new requests are still at 305. We feel we know we will make some progress on clarity on that. So this next week that'll be helpful on it. And I know some of the departments that have requested some new things. We probably want to talk more to you about that. But I guess everything else is pretty self-explanatory. I know you feel and we feel we have more work to do. So that just kind of brings you up to date with where we're at. And today you have a couple more departments in front of you, and I've got some page numbers and things over at my desk for the Sheriff's Department and Extension. There's the two, and we've met with both those. I think we've got some clarity on their budgets and ready to go forward. Any questions that we can answer of yours at this time? Certainly we'll be available to do that.
Okay. Any questions? The the final of the 2013 under, is that done now?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. I'd like to see that too, obviously, looking back over some time here, we've done a pretty good job with the county tax levies and keep them within reason for our citizens. And at the same time, some of our funds have been able to grow. For example, I think we brought the social services fund from what at one time was a low of like 1.5 million or something like that, which was not good, up to significantly higher. And so it's, I think I'd like to take a look at what were the final results of 13, and where are we with our numbers that we have set aside. I remember last year, I think we actually funded through reserves a portion of social services budget for last year. And I think in the end it proved that it didn't really hurt anything to do that. But I think we need to look at some of those things too. We can do some of this stuff, of course. Some of these things, if we cut them back, how does it impacting services to our citizens? So we have to keep that in mind, as well as how can we keep doing that, maintaining a competitive tax rate, which is important to us when we're dealing with economic development competition levels from North Dakota. So there's a lot of factors that come into play, and obviously getting down here to a spread levy before new construction of 8.44, we got a lot of work to do.
Yep.
Right. So at least that's in my humble opinion, but I think like you said, Brian, I think we can get there.
Yeah.
And we have. I just as soon try to get as much there as we can September 15th without waiting till December to do it. So.
For the 2013, do you want a line item detail or that blue sheet?
I think if you could do the summary,
Okay.
but then ultimately shows overall revenues over expenditures.
Right, I can also do that fund balance comparison.
Yeah,
too.
and the fund balance comparison would be good. Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, there will be a little, we feel, in public health, as in the past. I think it's just over $100,000 that we haven't applied, because we'll get that direction from you folks if you want to apply that to that levy reduction. That's what you've done in the past.
Right.
And there's a couple other funds that we're not sure of whether they're going to be single payments, or they're not ongoing necessarily. We'll discuss that with you folks too, as far as whether they should be they're in the levy right now, but maybe they should be taken out of reserves if we need to spend those monies for those one-time projects and things.
Well, we pretty much know we have two things that we have to pay strong attention to, and number one is we've got no choice on the health insurance increase. And the second one is listed here is the COLA, and it'd be pretty hard for us to not do the COLA for all of our non-union workers when we've already made the commitment to our union workers. So so I think those things are pretty well established in my mind anyway, that we're going to need to have those there. So.
Well, I think the employees in the county would like to hear that news. And also, though, I think it is a relatively conservative cost of living. You're not asking for a lot, and you're not offering a lot at 2%, and things have gone up. I think the citizen knows that costs have gone up. So
well, we had a few years there where regionally and even nationally there wasn't much growth, and that is changing now. And I think that the 2% we're talking about is well within what you're seeing outside of the public sector as well. So
right.
maybe even slightly more outside the public sector. John.
If I remember right, last year, it was in 13, we had $400,000 in social service from the reserves that we were allowed. Did they ever use that? Did it get used or not?
No, I think we broke even that year, or pretty, actually around.
Without it. Without the
I
400,000.
think the number was 600,000.
I don't know, so that was
Between
400.
public health and
Right.
social
Oh,
services.
450
yes.
for social services.
Yeah.
And 150 from public health, yes. Yeah.
That's one thing I'd want to look at too and see.
And that's
whether we
that's
need
part
to-
of the report that I'm asking for.
Right.
All right. Anything else, Frank? Any questions?
These debt retirements, how long do they go? I mean, are they different years or?
They vary.
It's like-
Some of them are retired in 2018, some in the 2020s.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still gonna have them for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like Michelangelo was said to the Pope when he kept asking, when will you finish this painting of this chapel? He said, when I am done.
Okay, now I understand.
Well, in response to that,
But some retire earlier than
Yeah, they
others. So.
vary.
2018 is when they start retiring, and remember, the county board has passed a resolution, not absolute by any means, that you would continue to collect those dollars for financing a jail.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm
They
thinking.
retired between 2018 and 2022.
Okay,
So
That's when the majority
that's
of
not
them.
very far down the road, you know?
Yeah.
It's gonna come quick.
well, that's what I was wondering,
Yeah.
when we can apply those to the jail. Very
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
And that's coming, Frank. Okay, anything else? Grant, any questions? No. All right. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mark. Okay, next we have Sheriff's Department's budget. Sheriff, we got Matt and Brian. And Julie's on her way, okay. You're
And
gonna-
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, that is on page 31 of your quick document. Page 31, it starts, they run for about 10 pages. And the goals are about the middle of the pack, page 12, if you want to page through those goals. They're not numbered, but page 12 is where the sheriff's office.
Have these documents changed since the last time you handed them out?
No, well, slightly, yes. But the line items haven't much. They'll be addressing those as they go through them.
And the goals are where?
On page 12, about halfway through the pack there. They're not numbered.
And I see that you give me page 12 with no page.
I figured you could maybe count to 12.
Taking a lot for granted.
Wrong again, huh?
Insert foot. Yeah.
So Brian, is that SRO revenue in what they're looking at?
It probably is listed under the bill, yes. Their document has not changed because it's just some slight changes so far.
All right, Sheriff, who's gonna start for you today?
Matt's
Matt's gonna start? Okay.
Morning.
Come on up, Julie.
I had a handout prior to the meeting. I'll just briefly go over. It has several departments in it, law enforcement, corrections, and emergency management. I'll just be touching on the law enforcement coordinator piece. A few increase or adjustments in revenue. Police relief aid, that's a state-funded formula based off of all kinds of different factors. We've historically been under 200,000, so we're going to decrease that by 15,000. We're going to show an increase in training reimbursements of 15,000. Pistol permits has increased considerably over the last few years. I'll talk about that later. We're going to increase that revenue by 20,000. On the expenditure side, more and more folks are going to get data phones in our office. They're a valuable tool, so we're going to increase data phones again this year for more people. That'll be a slight increase. And of course, auto repair and maintenance, we've been in the, we have decreased that by about $10,000 over the last few years, but we're still not making up for that, so there's a slight increase in auto repair and maintenance, including tires and so forth. Briefly touching on, before I move on to the task force, the law enforcement piece, we have 5 office staff in our office right now. One of them is 3/4 time. We potentially will lose 4 of those in 2015, 4 out of our 5, 1 possibly in April, 2 in May, and 1 in September. Of course, that is going to be a large hurdle we're going to face in our office. There's probably 100 and some years of experience that are going to walk out the door next
You
year.
got retirements?
Other retirements, yes. One of that three-quarter time, we will more than likely, if, we haven't had any official letters of retirement yet, but just some conversations with some of those ladies, we will more than likely come back to the board early in 2015 to move that three-quarter time to full-time. And we're going to probably more than likely fund that position with that increase in pistol permit money. Pistol permits in our office has grown beyond all forecast. To give you an example, in 2008, 9, and 10, we had roughly between 90 and 100 new and renewal permits for the year, and that was about $7,000 to $8,000 a year. In 2011, we moved up to 120 permits, which generated revenue of about $10,300. In 2012 is when we saw the large spike. Again, we were in the 100 area. Now we're at, in 2012, we jumped to 248 permits. Last year, in 2013, we had 454 permits and we generated almost $40,000. So there's background checks, criminal history checks that we do for that. It's grown by such a leaps and bounds, we can't maintain it with our current staff. So again, I think if this three-quarter time terminal agency, that TAC position we have, then more than likely we'll be back here early 2015 to see if we can't use that full-time hire.
So Matt, you're looking at the difference between what the permit fee charged is and what the costs are? There's a difference there, and that's what you're using to fund this position?
Right. That pistol permit money by statute can only be used for for the process of pistol permits, whether it's background checks, criminal history checks, equipment for that. So we're pretty strapped on what you can use those funds for. But since that position will end up doing a lot of this, we'll transition that money. And again, on all of these positions, you're going to talk about people that have had 43, 44 years and they're on the grid. Obviously, we're not going to replace them
Right, up at the higher
at
level.
the high level. So that'll be a big change in the sheriff's office in 2015. Also, another,
Excuse me, just before you go. Do permits, when you renew permits, is there a fee for that?
yes.
That's why the numbers are, now we're getting back to renewing
Okay.
5 years ago, so
Okay, thank you.
they're kind of doubling right now.
In 2015, we're also hoping to reestablish our K-9 program. As you may be aware, we had a large fundraising campaign this year. We raised just slightly over $26,000 in that campaign. That's more than enough money to fund the purchase of an animal, the training, the equipment necessary. So we didn't ask for any tax dollars for that. The generous donations in the public should be enough to fund that program.
That's to get it started. How about once it's operational?
It's
Is there some
about-
ongoing expenses?
There is. It's roughly $5,200 a year. That's
Okay. And you'll build that into your budget?
Yes.
then?
Any questions on the K-9 program? Narcotic task force, that we've been involved in that task force for many, many years. There's no changes to that. The state grant, or the federal grant doesn't come out until September, so I really can't update any numbers. There is a slight increase in the coroner budget. We budget for 35 autopsies the last few years. We're going to move that up to 37 autopsies a year on average. As our population grows, the percentage of that number goes up. Last year, we had a significant year of 56 autopsies. So we're hoping that was just a fluke of a year instead of the norm. So far, as you can see in the handout, we had 14 autopsies since June 1st, or June 16th this year. Besides that, I guess I'm not sure if you received the update when I met with Brian. I did forget to add in the SRO reimbursement we get from both the Holly Newland, Hitterdale, and Holly schools. So again, we're gonna see, we get reimbursement from those two school districts for Deputy Jeff Lee. For the course of the year. So that's almost $32,000.
So you basically put in your budget for the SRO for those places our portion of the cost of the,
Right, their reimbursement is up in miscellaneous revenue, it's 203.
okay, so you show their reimbursement as revenue, and then you give on the expense side, you show the full
The
cost.
full
Okay.
salary of that.
Just want to make sure we know how you're reporting it in here.
Yes. So, although there are big changes that we're anticipating in 2015, there's not a large financial statement I can make today. Most of it's covered by donations with the K-9 program, we have staff that are retiring at a higher rate, and giving other people at a lower rate. Are there any specific questions on the sheriff's side of the budget?
How about, how do you go about determining your fuel costs and all those things? Do you use do you take a percentage of last year when you budget that, or how do you go about, what's
Well,
your
I
formula
run
for
an
that?
analysis every year, I go off of the last 5 years. And, you know, back in, I just looked at it. In 2008, we spent almost $101,000 in fuel. 09, 10, 107, 124. And then in 11 and 12, we had that huge, that was at $4 and some cents
Right.
a gallon. We're at 155,000. Of course, now we haven't seen that $4.75 a gallon. So in trying to base that, there's going to be some $4 a gallon in a couple months in a year. But so far, we're maintaining that pretty well. Last year, in 2013, we spent $141,000. So
And what did you budget?
147,000.
So you're pretty close.
So
Okay.
You mentioned SROs. Are you pursuing any more SROs like in Dilworth or Linden area?
I'll let the sheriff speak to that.
We have had some conversation with them.
Bill, can you talk into the mic?
They're, right now, he's gonna have a meeting with both Dilworth PD and Glendon PD, just to see if it's gonna work in one of their departments or share in one with them. After that meeting, then we'll probably talk again if it's.
So that wouldn't happen, well, of course, it could happen in 215 or something like that.
Well, it could, but I mean, the training wouldn't be till next summer anyway, so, but we have been discussing it with them.
Then finally, on the sheriff's office piece, it's dispatch fees. That should be the second to last page in the handout. The dispatch has set their budget for 2015 at a little over $3.5 million. For county shares, 10%. As most of you are aware, we have that memorandum of understanding with the 4 rural cities. That expires in 2015. That's been at a flat rate for many, many years. We've had some meetings with Administrator Burke and those cities and Commissioner Gross. So at some point in 2015, we'll have to decide where we're going with that.
460.
For 16, correct. And as you can see, the expenditure piece on that, that's the maintenance for New World software. Gives you an idea of how expensive that maintenance agreement is to run that records management and CAD system.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions? Brian, we'll move to emergency management. Are you going to give something on that?
Yeah.
All right, is that where you wanted to go next?
Yes, I think that'll be easier.
Sure. I guess the only, I have one slight increase there, $2,000, and that's for Teen Cert. We have teen cert in the Ewing Hitterall school districts, and we're trying to get into the more school districts. Ewing decided that they want it all year long, they wanted both semesters instead of just one. That it would increase my, basically my budget, and that's mainly for administrative part, where we have the instructor go up and teach. So that's basically where the expense is. Now, we are looking at trying to get into more, but they have not given us a yes or no for this fall, but hopefully we will. They don't want it in their school activity, they want it after school program, so that would, again, it would cost a little bit more money, again, basically for instructors and stuff like that. Otherwise, it's pretty much normal in my budget.
Okay. So that, everything else kind of remains stable?
Yeah.
As stable as you can be in emergency management.
Yeah, there's some years when that's been all over the board, and it's justifiably so, though, when you start going through disaster situations. It makes a big difference. All right, so we've gone through all these pages here, and now we've got to come to Julie. This is where the real money is.
Well, actually, I think we did pretty good this year, and in large part it has to do with the county board agreeing to let us hire last year for our county position. That position has done a lot of work in the jail, and it's been a lifesaver for us. We want to say we appreciate that. So I think you'll see it in the reflection of our budget. We are not asking for anything additional this year, and in fact, we're able to reduce some of our expenditures. So I'll just quickly go over two of those. I think we're going to see a savings in our prisoner care this year because we did go to a new medical contract, and we're seeing less people being sent to the hospital in the emergency room. And the other one we're seeing a reduction on is our prisoner board. And I base that on the last 3 years of our number of people we're shipping out. So there is going to be, I feel, going to be a reduction there of about $37,000.
Is that due to contract signed?
Well, contract, there is a lower price for us. That is a part of it, as well as the fact that the actual numbers we're sending out
Are down?
A little bit down. When we did do the original budget for this year, the prior year was pretty high with our numbers, but now last year they dropped down a little bit. So based on the last 3-year average, this is a more accurate number, I feel, for 2015.
You're still sending out a lot of prisoners, though.
We're still sending a lot of people out. I think we're at 18 today.
Do you still think you need a different facility?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
There's no doubt in my mind.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Ryan, what page are you on?
36.
All right. So anything of concern, Julie, from your area? So you think you've got an adequate number in there for boarding and transportation and everything for our prisoners? So.
It's working quite a bit better now that we have this contract in place.
Okay.
There's still concerns about having beds available. Just because we've contracted for 12 beds doesn't necessarily mean they have room for the 18 or 20 that we actually need to send out on a day-to-day basis. So we are still utilizing other counties like Ottertail and Wilton County. There are concerns also that Tri-County has a bigger population because they're taking Department of Corrections inmates. So the beds that they have available may not always be available to us.
Okay. And how is the cooperation going with DOC?
Very good. We have had a lot of correspondence in recent months with the Department of Corrections.
Okay. Very good.
One change that was made last year, I think, in the legislature, or at least was on the medical thing. Has that reduced any of our medical costs?
No, it hasn't. We haven't had any inpatient hospital stays,
Okay.
fortunately.
Okay.
How does that sentence to serve, where I see you're looking for an increase there? How does that work? I mean, do we charge people, or?
No, that's strictly salaries for the state employee that works the census service crew.
Oh,
We're
okay.
responsible for funding a portion of that salary.
All right. Ryan?
Well, Mr. Chair, I think it's important to note that the jail corrections is asking for about $60,000 less, and the sheriff's office is about $60,000 more. So out of that or a little better than $6 million budget, it's about flat other than the insurance costs and the cost of living increase. So I think as a group, they really should be complimented for holding, because that's such a fluctuating department. It's hard to tell what it's going to be. So We were really pleased when we went through the budget with them on what they've done here.
Good, I agree. I think that's, at least on your preliminary budget, it looks really good.
Yeah, it's good work.
All right.
Were we going to discuss that addition to
We got
the-
that.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, while they're here, while they're here, let's go to this addition item here, and I know it's item number 1 on the agenda addition. It's a resolution to authorize exploring feasibility of future migration of police and radio, and this has to do with that new 800 megahertz system within Minnesota, is that correct?
Right, that's the armor system.
Armor
It's
system.
been,
Okay.
it's been around in Minnesota for many years now. We looked at that system when we have our current system right now. It wasn't feasible, the number of towers that we would have had to have put up. It would have been several $1 million more for us to bring that radio system here. And I just want to emphasize, this is a planning discussion now. We're not going to do this tomorrow or next year. But we really do need to start planning in the future what our plans are going to be for our radio system. It is starting to reach its end of life cycle. Some of our equipment is no longer supported by Motorola. Our portables, for example, they've sent out notice that they won't support them anymore, which means they won't fix them, they won't repair them. I'll let Brian speak to this a little more, but so it's really a step forward to planning to what are we going to do in the future, and I mean future with between 5-8 years. What our radio system's going to be like. And just to end that discussion before I hand it over to Brian, the state, they have this great plan to move every first responding agency to this system. They had a lot of money to begin with that was all absorbed in the metro area. They ran out. They since then found other funding for it. Currently, I think there are 83 of the 87 counties on this system. So it's and now the infrastructure is built. It's considerably cheaper today to go on that system than it was 12, 15 years ago when we looked at it. So,
Are the counties that are not on the system the ones that are part of our Northwest Regional Radio Board group?
Yes, there is one county in southern Minnesota that's not. And that's, again, that's kind of a border conflict with Iowa.
Okay.
They have a different system, so they stayed with.
And that's, to some degree, we have that dilemma, don't we?
We did, yes.
We did, or we still do?
Well, and that's one of the reasons why we stayed with PHF so long.
Right. I remember that being, I was on that board before, and I think Grant's taken
Yeah,
over.
and North Dakota is looking at moving to what we're doing here.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay,
it's-
so from a total dispatch thing, by the time, like you said, Matt, by the time
When we didn't move, it was too advantageous for us, but now it's time to look at this and move forward with it, so. So, yeah, I don't think there's any question, it's something we have to do, and we're looking at, what we talked about it yesterday, the system's, 8, 9 years we've had it in place. I mean, it's just, it's, the time is here where we have to make some changes. And I think timing-wise, we're in a good situation from a, looking at getting grants and things to help us fund this.
Okay.
The state pretty much has migrated to this armor system now, and so we'll be one of the last ones. And their goal was to get everybody in the state on board. So I think we'll be in pretty good situation over the next few years to get this accomplished.
And this all really, the big push for this started happening after that bridge collapse in the cities, wasn't it?
Well, they already had it in the cities.
Oh, they already had it in the cities,
They already
okay.
had it, yeah.
But it proved to work good or something there, right?
9/11 basically is what changed it.
Oh, okay. All right.
well, and we went to Lowell too. That was a long time ago, 8, 9 years ago. But we built one tower with our current system at the landfill. Just the tower alone was $211,000.
Right.
That armor system back then would have required us to build at least 3. Now the state has built them all. And, prior to '06, prior to the armor system, the state's opinion on using their towers was they didn't allow you to have any equipment on their towers. And now with armor, they have changed that. They have built what they've promised. They've built the backbone, which is what they said they would do.
And that backbone is
The towers.
in
and
place for
infrastructure.
Clay County?
Right.
I think-
Where when we looked at it before, they said, we may build it, but we
Mhm.
want you on this system right now, and we want you to build the towers. Well, it wasn't feasible.
And the bottom line is, this is going to save us money in the long run, no
Yeah,
question
yeah.
about it, so.
Yeah, and I remember this discussion from a long time ago, and we elected to not go armor quite a while ago because of some other underlying issues, and one of them being our joint dispatch with Fargo and the different types of communications are there. But it's good to hear that North Dakota is also looking at going to that, so we can all be uniform.
Yeah,
Because
this won't
it certainly
change
is a
our
reliable system, from what I
Yeah,
understand.
this won't change our relationship with the
No.
joint dispatch whatsoever,
No,
so.
will not. And
Okay.
the way they, even if we do switch before them, we'd be able to patch. I mean, it's
Okay.
not the best thing, but we're still going to be able to talk to them. So no
Okay.
matter what, we'll have interoperability with North Dakota.
Okay. John, did you have a comment?
Well, I was wondering if, you said North Dakota is considering it the whole state or just the Fargo dispatch?
Well, Fargo had their way, they do it right now. They
Okay.
do it at 700 megahertz, which basically it's the same as 800 megahertz, it's just one channel, we switch on the radio to talk to them. The North Dakota also is looking for it, but they're in the beginning stages, so. it'll be
So it may
still
take a long
years.
time if,
Yes.
but Fargo may take the lead, you think, or? is
Oh,
that-
I'm assuming they will.
Okay.
So you want a resolution from us?
Yeah, and again, it's just the beginning of the process. If I get the resolution from you today, I'll go to our board, which Grant is on the board. We'll go through the committee, and then we'll go to this, and I asked to do this study, basically is what it is. And then I'll be requesting grant money to cover that. Generally, what's been happening in our region is that the state of Minnesota will cover that with grant money. If not, then I'll have to come back to the board.
Okay.
We'll go from there.
So right now, the assumption is you want us to authorize us to move forward with the study on this, and you're anticipating grant money to fund it, but that isn't 100% sure, so if not, then you'd come back to us.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Well, it's moving forward in the right direction, and I think so.
I'll move to authorize exploring feasibility of future migration of police and fire radio communications to the statewide armor system.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, if none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, I think that's it.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Extension. Good morning.
Mr. Chair, extension is page 44, and the goals page is 21. So it'll be just a couple pages back from the back of the back on the goals.
Okay.
So,
Whenever you're ready.
thanks for the time. Our request reflects continuing to have a half-time 4-H program coordinator in addition to Lisa Kassenbauer, who's the full-time PC right now. And so we appreciated your support earlier this year when we added some funding to create that position and bring it back. And we've seen the benefits of it over the past, just the past few months. This summer, we've reached over 500 youth throughout the county with our summer programming. We've got plans in place for after-school programming across the county this fall. And then we've just increased our presence at, community events. We've expanded our science, technology, engineering, and math programming as well. So we're again, over the next 5 years, starting next year, we're receiving $10,000 a year from the Glendon Farms, which we're going to apply towards this position.
You are getting that again?
Yep.
Okay.
So, so then our request to the county for the position is $23,765. That's the bulk of our overall request. The rest of the requests are pretty minimal. They're through the MOA. The rates for Randy Nelson and Lisa increased by 1.5%. The support staff salary and benefits increased slightly, and then we reduced three of our line items for just some miscellaneous expenses, and then the rest of them stay the same.
Excuse me, the total, the total request increase then is about 40,000, is that?
On the expense side, yeah.
Mr. Chair, yes, on the expenditure side, but if you'll notice up on top, Commissioner Everett, the revenue was not included in there of $10,000, so that is going to offset
Oh,
the
yeah.
increase.
Okay.
And that's some of the things we go over when we meet with them face to face.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Well, it turns out not to be a very good year to be doing this, but we did approve the position earlier, and so I think we need to maintain it if we can.
That half position too, is that also a contract with the
Yeah.
state? Right?
Yeah.
And when do those contracts, so is it on the calendar year? The contract?
Yeah, this is the, 2015 will be the last year of the current MOA,
The current MOA of the halftime position?
and the other two positions as well.
Okay, so they're all combined into one MOA, okay.
So
For
earlier
MOA.
this year, when when we added the position and the funding was provided, we updated the MOA and added in the halftime position. So they're all on the same schedule.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? That was easy, Ben.
Thank you.
Well, we may or we may not want to call you back later as we move forward with this. I know you'll be working directly with our administration team on it,
Yeah,
but thanks for the report.
You've got an event going on over there today.
we do. So if you're coming over for the Family Service Center for pizza for lunch, we're going to have a lot of mainly 4-H
Oh, yeah.
exhibits and projects set up and displays and activities. We'll have some general extension information over there as well.
Good.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ben. Okay, we are running a little bit ahead of schedule here, so I think maybe what we'll do, why don't we take this and get this extra agenda edition out of the way here. Appoint 2 Canvas board members for the primary election.
I don't qualify.
You don't qualify, yeah. Who do you have in mind there?
It doesn't make any difference, and you can appoint somebody as long as they're an eligible voter
Okay.
in Clay County, and it'll only be like a half an hour probably.
Is this something that required the training?
No.
Okay. Who's available Thursday? Don't everybody speak at once.
Like I said, you could appoint somebody too.
Yeah. Lori, no, can you be one? You
No,
have to be,
I'm-
you're one anyway, right?
No, I'm the head person, so.
Yeah, you're, okay.
I'm available.
All right, Frank, let's put you down.
What time is it? I've got some meetings on Thursday.
I mean,
10 o'clock?
10 o'clock I'll be okay.
Can you make 10 o'clock, Grant? I can't, so.
Yeah, I should be done with the meeting I've got in the morning, so, yeah.
Okay, all right. Grant and Frank, all right?
They'll be where, at your
In
office?
the board meeting.
Right in here. And that shouldn't take very long, I wouldn't think. Yeah. All right. So that's just an official appointment, then we can consider that done. All right. All right. Committee reports. Let's move on to that. Frank, do you want to start with your committee reports?
Last Tuesday night, went to Hawley. They had the Night to Unite, and I gotta say that was an excellent turnout. I think everybody in Hawley was there. They had all kinds of people there. That they were feeding people there, I think, for an hour and a half. Going through that line, it was just tremendous turnout. They had good community support. The police reserves were there. They had life support out there. The helicopter out there, and got a chance to meet the 2 new council members on the city council there. So it was a very good night for Hawley. Wednesday night, I went back out to Hawley. They had the airport expansion, and they had a public hearing on that, and they got some good comments from the people right surrounding the airport. They're going to have to take a lot of things into consideration. People are very concerned about that airport expansion, and I think Hawley needs it. There's a demand for bigger planes coming in with the new industries that are getting in there, and they got some good comments from the neighbors. Last night I went to Gooseberry Township meeting, and they were not concerned about it. They had questions on elections. As far as, are we going to do mail-in ballots ever? Is Clay County looking at that at all, or?
We're gonna send out some information, and it's their option to make that decision. We're just gonna inform the townships that that will be available for them if they want it.
Can townships?
There's so many,
Yeah, but they don't fall into that.
400.
But
Can townships and cities go together? Like, I mean, when the townships have their elections at the same place that the cities have their election, can they go together? Do they each have to have a separate election judges there?
they can do a combined precinct, but we actually had 2 or 3 combined precincts when I first started here, and then they pulled them apart a number of years ago, and they unseparated everything, so.
Because some of the townships, they feel in their primaries are really, numbers it down, and they don't see the
Right, they're
the
down.
costs for,
Countywide, they're down, unless there's a specific race.
yeah, so they were just wondering whether they could combine some stuff, okay. Another thing, I guess Dave isn't here, but the signage is, does anybody know that signage, is there a certain time limit they have to be done with the signage? They have to redo the signage out in the rural area? I'll discuss that with Dave, that's,
He'll be here. He's supposed to be here.
yeah, okay, that's all I got.
All right, thanks, Frank. Grant?
Let's see, I had Warren Planning Commission last week. There wasn't a lot going on there, a few minor zoning changes. Had restorative justice meeting on Thursday, and everything is going well with that program, and there's still grant money to fund it, so we're in pretty good shape with that. We also had a detention meeting that day, and I know they discussed it in Cass County, and we're looking at some changes where Cass County juveniles would be coming to our detention facility, and we're kind of right in the middle of that right now, and we'll be doing more discussing with them and with our other partners in the detention center. So, but it should be a win-win situation for both our facility and for Cass County. So I know they're pretty excited about it, and I know as we are also, and our staff. So that was it for me.
We had highway tracking last week after the meeting. Frankly, I don't remember what we talked about. We'll let you guys report on that.
That's going to be Brian's report.
Okay. Also that afternoon, Historical Society Committee went out and to look at the Berquist cabin out here, just a couple blocks away here, and which Historical Society owns. And we've got new signage that's been grant funded from Minnesota Historical Society, describing talking about John Berquist, but also about the history of the cabin and so on. And those we're working on getting that installed in a permanent foundation, so that it'll be safe and secure out there. And so that's happening. Also, the other physical property that the Historical Society owns is the schoolhouse by Rolog. That was the oldest country, District Number 3, so it's the oldest rural district in the county, and also the last to close. And that one is needing paint refurbishing, and that's being done right now, and it should look very nice within a couple weeks. We should have that project done as well. So we've got 2 properties here in the county that the Historical Society owns that should be enhanced considerably by these projects and grants from the Minnesota Historical Society. On Wednesday, I attended, together with a lot of staff people, the VIVA training for the new healthcare plan that we were offering, and it was very interesting. I certainly don't pretend to understand it from that one session, but it's the beginning at least, and we've got Darren to explain it for us whenever we get stuck. So, okay. Anyway, it was a good session, and it sounds like there's a good response not only in that one, but in all the sessions that they had. So that was good. That's all I had this week.
All right, I also had a highway tracking meeting last week, and a couple of items that were on there as we did review the construction schedule. And then one of the issues that came up was we talked about a replacement of one of our trucks. Right now, we have one spare truck, and we have 12 districts and one spare truck, and the one spare truck is kind of on its last leg. And so we had him, Dave and Nathan brought in some options to, what they'd like to do is roll one into that backup and get another one in that would be more in the daily use. And the funds in the internal service account fall a little bit short, and so we just asked him to go back and review some other options, and we'll probably have something coming forward on that shortly. Those are the two things that I remember during that thing, and I was going to bring that in with me, and I forgot it in my truck. On Wednesday the 6th, there was a special meeting of the Diversion Authority called, and that one right away went into closed session, and that one was just to discuss the lawsuits that are going on, and that's all I can comment on that at this point. There was no other action taken. As Grant mentioned, we met, and I've met for the second time with folks from Cass County on this regional juvenile detention, and I know it's going to be big news and hopefully good news coming out of this. I know that it was in the it was on the Cass County Sheriff's budget meeting yesterday with the County Commission over in Cass County, and they've agreed to fully research the idea of moving their entire juvenile operation over to our regional facility here. They came here, they viewed it, they really liked it. They said they're in the situation now where they'd have to build something, and basically what they've said is if they had to build, they'd build to exactly what we have in terms of the needs of the facility. Our facility is designed to have 24 beds, and we have committed 17 beds to our member counties. And at this point, in terms of the details of it, Cass County would be looking at 6 to 6.5 beds, so that they would be committing to, and this is also a commitment that they're talking about that would be long-term. So it would really be something that would really be a long-term solution for our facility, especially when you look at for many years our numbers in the facility were down and basically costing a lot of the counties. And we still think that this will be a good fit, and all of our member counties. We're going to be meeting with them to discuss it, and we certainly hope that they would accept it, because it does offer some really good options for us. The legals on both sides have determined that the border crossing issue shouldn't be a problem. There might be something within transportation that we have to work out, but that's to be seen. But as of now, we had members of the Cass County Commission were here last week, and the Sheriff's Department and their juvenile and their council, and we had Commissioner Wayland and I, who serve on the extension, or on the regional center, were there along with our juvenile staff and our administrator, and also our legal. And this, I mean, the amount of revenue that this would bring in would be significant, and it would really allow us to really run that operation good. And it's the Cass County likes the fact that when the kids come in here, they're getting educated while they're here. And it's actually mandated on the Minnesota side that once they're here, I think it's 3 days, Grant. I think then on the third day they have to start being given an education process. So So that's a real exciting thing where, you know, you can be looking at, you know, if you're wondering about numbers, you could be looking at additional revenues coming in of upwards of $500,000 or more, you know, so it is significant. And I think it would be a win-win for Cass and for Clay counties and the rest of our member counties. But there's more to come on that. As they say, the devil's in the details, but I think we're all committed to trying to find a way to make it work. And that's all. I do have one more thing. Unless Brian and you want to follow up any more on that in your report, you certainly can. And then this morning we did have a PIC meeting, a Personal Issues Committee meeting, and there is a development coming up that I believe Darren had talked to us about a while back, and this is in regards to the para/Social Security issue that's being raised here in terms of there's been some discussions between the Social Security Administration and para, and this has to deal with, it's primarily our correctional officer. It's a correctional officers issue that was done, some changes that were made several years ago. And I guess at this point in time, for the board, we're going to be asked to potentially make a decision next week on this. So I've asked Darren maybe to just come up and just give you like a 5-minute overview of the issues so that you have time to think about it during the course of the week, because we're under a time frame where we're going to need to make a decision by next week. So Darren, let's do it now. We're here. We can. Yeah.
Well, some of you, thank you, Mr. Chair. Some of you have gotten this notification already that the para-correctional plan and Social Security, they're doing some changes to it, or they have to have this vote. Real quick history on it is back in July 1st of 1999, they created the correctional plan, and the correctional officers that were in the coordinated plan were moved over to the correctional plan, the para plan. And so with them came their Social Security contributions as well. Well, everything was going along fine until 2004 when they did what was called, and I have to look this up because I always forget what it is, a identification modification to clarify that if the positions that were now under the correctional plan should also be contributing to Social Security. Well, that was back back in 2004. In June of this year, 2014, a local Social Security administration responded to a request from para to look at this to see if they were supposed to be paying into Social Security as well. And they found out that anybody that was hired into the correctional plan after 1999, after its inception, was not technically qualified to contribute to the Social Security. As of right now, everybody in the correctional plan contributes to the correctional plan, para, and Social Security. So this letter came out stating that what para wants to do is have this referendum vote by its correctional plan members in December, where they would vote to either continue with the Social Security contributions or not. What the board is going to be asked to do next week is to decide what kind of voting they want to do, whether it would be a majority vote or a divided vote referendum. What ends up happening is in most of the counties that I've seen already, and what para is recommending is that we go with the majority vote, because if the majority vote is taken and passed, then everything stays the same, basically. Everybody that's been contributing to the Social Security would continue to contribute. They would get their benefits and everything else. But if it fails, then those people that do not want to contribute to Social Security anymore, that's in the correctional plan, will stop contributing, and they can even go back and get 3 years of, what do I want to say, retro payments or whatever, refunds from Social Security for that back to 3 years. So that's kind of the down and dirty 5-minute concept. I had to read through this a couple times just to kind of understand it. And I wanted to bring it to the board today just so in case you have other questions that I can get answered by para before the next board meeting when we actually bring this to.
And I think it's important to understand that this wasn't an issue that was created by Clay County. This was an issue that was created between para and Social Security.
Right. Correct.
And in terms of whatever decision is made, there's not a cost impact to Clay County.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to verify is
Yeah.
that is Clay County's portion have
Yeah.
to be refunded
Right.
as well.
Now, when it comes to, so ultimately, we would be suggesting or making a statement as to which type of vote
Right, correct.
would happen. And so we're getting an update here. You can ask him some questions. And also, we've asked then that Darren's department also reach out to the correctional people so that they know
Yeah.
in advance of what we're doing, and in case they have anything that they would like to, whether they choose one of the two types of votes. The one type I vote, even if it fails, to me it reverts to the other one. So
Yeah, that's
so
exactly right. And I just talked to Julie in the hall. She was walking out here, and there's limited knowledge on
Yeah.
what this is all about.
Then
So
we
I
need to get
told her
that to
that I would bring in Steve Larson and her. I hope I can get on Steve's calendar today, but definitely Julie to bring her up to speed, and then set up some half-hour sessions with the correctional officers throughout the week to kind of inform them of this thing that's going on. What the time frame is, we have to identify from the board what kind of vote they want to be. And like I said, every county that I've heard from so far is going for the majority vote, because that's an all or nothing type thing. If they have the majority vote and a majority of the people vote yes, then everything stays the same. And that's what and that's what para is kind of pushing as well. Then by the 20th, August 20th, we have to let them know what kind of vote we're going to have. Then by September 1st, they'll put out the information to the correctional officers and correctional plan enrollees. And then they will have a 90-day informational period, September, October, and November. They'll pass out the ballots at the end of November, and then voting will take place between December 1st and December 31st, because they want to have this all completed and done by the start of the new year. So,
Okay.
okay.
Now, you said the county, the Social Security that's been paid in, the county can get refunds, and you're looking into it with the county? Can get
Yeah, I just
refunded
have to
for a year?
verify that we're not on the hook for any of that. If the vote fails, or they go to a divided vote, which is kind of the same thing, that we wouldn't have to, the county's portion would not have to be refunded. And they only can go back 3 years due to IRS standards.
Okay. Next time, I'm asking, this para and Social Security, one or the other. I don't know whether these guys are involved or not, but I had to make a decision too, whether I want to go on para or Social Security. Is that going to involve commissioners too, eventually?
No, just the correctional plan. It's just the people that are on the correctional plan when the plan was designed back in 1999. So it was kind of, back then in 1999, it was kind of a design flaw of the plan to say any correctional officer that's hired after 1999 would automatically be enrolled in Social Security as well. And that's what they're trying to correct with this vote. As far as the commissioners and everything goes, I'm not sure if that's a factor.
It would seem
we got one or the other, excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me, because we have to go on one or the other. Right? I mean, you guys, I think, were on before, I think.
Yeah, and I'd have to look into that. There is some.
We're on both.
This,
both.
Mr. Chair, it doesn't affect the commissioners. This
No.
is just a
No,
correctional.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it, will it eventually get that far or what?
We don't believe so. I think this was
Yeah.
just a correctional because of their, the retirement plan that they implemented, and they could be eliminated from Social Security at that point.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it reaches to.
So Darren, even if on this 3-year look back, and if these people decided and they ultimately were to be paid back the investment that they had in there, because there was a portion then that would have been a payroll deduction from the employee, and then there would have been a match from the employer. To me, the sole responsibility of that, if they need to return it, because Social Security got the full amount of money. So Social Security should be paying back the full amount, including our share, because they have our money.
Correct, yeah.
That's
But only for 3 years.
Yeah, but my point is, again, it goes to, is this thing going to ultimately cost Clay County any additional money? And the answer should definitely be no.
I'll verify that.
Yeah.
This week.
All right.
The only thing we vote on then is just how it's going to be voted on.
Yes,
Whether
correct.
it's,
And it's up to
You're gonna vote on
the
the vote.
employees to decide what
yes,
they.
they're going to decide. It's just which type of vote to do.
Yeah.
All right, Darren.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you.
All right. If,
All right.
If you have any other questions, just let me know.
Thank you for coming on short notice on that. Brian, we'll do your report at the end here.
Sure.
Dave, are you ready to give us your update? Construction projects.
Good morning. I was going to provide just a brief update on our construction and then also include a little bit of information if there's some changes that are going on in these, and maybe try to do that periodically throughout the construction season for future years. Right now, we've got 3 active construction projects going on. We've got the one right out courthouse here on 11th Street, or County Highway 3. That's the project. It's a joint project with City of Moorhead. The initial bid was just under $1 million. Things started off a little on the slow side. The contractor came in a couple weeks later than we initially hoped, but once he came in and started getting their feet wet with the sidewalk work that they're doing every sidewalk intersection and all the 4 different quadrants at each intersection. And it started off being kind of slow. There's lots of different requirements for slopes. You can't have things too steep, and there's a lot of EDA rules and things to follow, and our guys are working with them and spending a lot of time, and started off a little slow, but now they're going like gangbusters, and they should be done by the end of the week with all the sidewalk work. So with that being said, I think they're looking at doing some milling probably about Wednesday of next week, and then the paving to start right after that. So I know our initial request was always to be done before school started, and I know we've heard some, we talked about that a little bit at our highway tracking meeting last week too, that was a kind of a must-happen kind of a scenario, and so far it's looking like it is going to be that way, barring any unforeseen things. But hopefully we'll get the concrete work done, like I said, by the end of this week. Milling will start on Wednesday, and then paving right after that. So paving won't take that long. You know, it's only about a mile or so long, 1.5 miles long, and once they get it all milled up, they should be able to put the couple lifts on there and wrap things up. There will be some striping when they're done, as well as the city has asked to replace all the castings on the project. So I guess there'll be a little bit of work afterwards. They got to cut some of the diamonds out on there, and that takes a little bit too. But with the next,
But the road will be open when they're doing that.
correct, the road could be open when they get that done too. So we're still hoping to get all the work done by the start of school. So I think there's some time there. As far as changes go on this project, the city did request probably shortly after the bid anyway. I don't know if anybody's seen on the south end there where they've turned the northbound turn lane for eastbound traffic, and it's a good improvement. But the city came after the bid and asked if this could be added to the project. We run it through the contractor, and it was added. It's about $100,000 for that work there, so that'll probably be split 50-50 with the county. So there's an additional $50,000 there. They also asked for some of the 30 castings to be replaced along the project. The manhole covers are not new, so I guess we kind of agreed with them. That was another change requested by the city that would be split 50-50 as well. So there's another $15,000 for the county side. And when you do those sidewalk type projects like this, you go out there and our guys, we do an initial kind of a survey and we estimate how much sidewalk we think is going to be replaced. And what we're learning is as you do these projects, there's actually quite a bit more that gets replaced due to insufficient slopes and things. So we're guessing probably between curb and gutter and sidewalk, maybe an additional $40,000 of, which is actually quite a bit, but it's stuff that you have to replace in order to be up to code. So that's kind of the changes there. The project came in a little under bid, so I guess we'll probably, by the time it's said and done, be close to what our estimate was on the initial side. Any questions on our County Road 3?
Just a question on the project out here. You say that they're supposed to be done by school start. Is there a penalty involved if they're not?
Yep. Correct.
Okay.
Yep. The only kind of a kicker is there, with the additional turn lane and the castings and additional sidewalk pieces there, they would have a pretty legitimate claim on their end to say, well, this requires this much time, this requires, so I guess our goal is to just get it done and not have to worry about liquidated damages and things, because they got some legitimate.
Yeah, we don't need to have a bunch of detours for people first day of school to get their kids to school.
You
Just
bet.
don't need it.
Our next active project that's been going on for a while is County Highway 52. That's our project we're taking off the old concrete, working underneath the underpass and regrading it. So common excavation is all done. We had a lot of rain in the month of June that did slow this project. It's the only project that really got hurt due to them June rains. We did encounter a lot of springs underneath the underpass there. There was existing clay tile and drain tile that we encountered that we didn't really know about. But there is storm sewer that was being replaced underneath the underpass that we had areas to tie into with additional tiles. So we pretty much put all kinds of new tiles there, try to route all the water into a catch basin and drain it out. So it took a little extra work and a little extra money, but we got that done. I believe all the work underneath there is done, and now they're continuing with their gravel operation from the south end going north. So things are actually looking pretty good down in Barnesville. So about time we're kind of coming out from underneath the underpass there. We did encounter, and what we kind of do from time to time, is a lot of our roadways that have a lot of organic black material in the roadbed itself. As you're walking out there and they're working, the trucks will sink down like this far, and we're supposed to put gravel on top of that type of material, which we're not going to do. So we had additional subcut areas on this project, and it's not uncommon in our projects to do so, but it does cost a lot of money because you have to remove and replace that material. So I was told we've got 2 work orders that are pretty significant down in Barnesville there. The first one is $100,000, and that included removing and replacing subcut and additional granular borrow or sand. The second one that we encountered was just on the very north end. It does also include some drain tile, and that one was about $70,000. So we've got about $170,000 in additional subcut material type work on the project. This one, I believe, also came in a little bit under, so it's not going to change future projects or funding, but I guess it's just unforeseen things. You know, we do borings out there, and we try to figure out what type of section we're going to need, but after you tear off the surface and start digging out there, you encounter all kinds of things. Some are good and some are bad. So, the other project that's currently going on is County Highway 18. We're out there right now. We're working on the east end, moving our way to the west. At this time, we haven't gotten into the project enough to have any additional change orders or things of significant size, so we got nothing on that one. They started the borrow pit, taking the unsuitable material. It's going to be kind of trucked to the very west end there on the north side of the road, right across from the lagoon. So that area has been stripped. The material is being hauled in there, and I'd say they're working in the east 2 miles. You know, so maybe within a week to 10 days they should have a couple miles wrapped up. It's kind of a slow process because you're taking off about 1.5 foot of material, you're compacting it, shaping it, putting down fabric, and then you're hauling the salvage aggregate on top of that, and then new gravel on top of that. So there's a lot of trucking, a lot of off-road trucks moving material around, but for the most part, it's a pretty easy dirt job. There's not a lot of ditch work. There's not a lot of material being moved, so it'll go pretty quick. We just hope for another 2 months of dry weather, and we'll get that one done too. I've had a lot of discussions with the growers in the area as well as American Crystal, and they really want to see this one done by October 1st, which is their projected date for the sugar beet campaign. So there'll be probably discussions this week with the contractor, seeing what can be done to try to speed up the process to ensure that that's kind of our timeline. We had some issues with the bid letting on this one. It got delayed a couple of months because of some right-of-way issues, and that's kind of pushed things back into the middle of October. Our plan was always to have it done mid-September or October 1st at the latest, but the way things got started here, we're a couple weeks beyond that, so we're going to do everything we can to try to get it opened up for the sugar beet harvest. I know that, according to like American Crystal, if the locals can't bring their beets right into the plant, they'll start bringing them to other areas, other piling locations, and that's going to kind of mess up what they have for available space. And I'm just going to try to work with them a little, much as we can, I guess.
All right. Anything else, Dave?
I was going to see if I could have one agenda addition.
What do you got?
It's kind of a timely issue, but remember the bid letting we had on those box culverts? There was some small errors on there, and I've got the number we read, and I've got the actual new number. The number that was read at the bid opening was $841,416, and that was Gladen Construction. They were the apparent low bidder. There was about $657 of just small typographical errors on their end. So the actual contract number will be $842,073.
And that still was low.
That's still low. Yeah, nothing changes. It was just I don't know how they did it. A lot of times, I think in the future there's going to be more computer-aided bidding going on, and that'll eliminate all these type of errors. But they just transpose some numbers as they run their math across.
Okay. Have they agreed to the recalculation?
Correct. Yep.
All right. So we should probably have something in the record resolution changing the amount of the bid, shouldn't we?
Yep.
I move we make the appropriate changes.
All right. Second. We have a motion, a second, further discussion. If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, so that wraps that up. We're just a few minutes ahead. Did you have
I had a question on that signage that I got from last night.
Yeah.
When do these townships have to have their signs replaced, or is there a time limit on that?
Yeah, I believe, and I think it was 2014. As far as the reflectivity, as far as the rules on that.
Well, the stop signs, yield signs.
Yep, I believe there's a couple of issues on it. There's the reflectivity on it, and then there's also the posts. The posts got to be 4 pounds per foot or less, and then the reflectivity's got to meet. They initially came out with some pretty strict rules on that, and then the Federal Highway backed off a little bit on it, and they kind of said that they've got to meet, they've got to meet the actual MUTCD sign standards versus, they've got to have it done by this date. So why don't you let me look at that up afterwards, and I'll get you the exact dates on that.
But some of the townships haven't done anything yet.
And we reached out to them, and we had this sign committee. We had probably about 4 or 5 different meetings. We found vendors that would do the work. We shared all the information with them, but maybe that would be another good thing to reshare with them, to say, hey, this is where we're at, this is where the laws are, and some of you that did your work, congratulations, and the other ones that haven't, here's what you should be doing.
Yeah, but they're not aware of the time limit. So, I mean, haven't checked it out, I guess.
Yep. I'll dig into that when I get back to my office, and I'll give you a call.
Thank you.
one last little thing. In our highway tracking meeting, we talked about the corrections to County Road 95.
Correct.
Have you made an attempt to write a letter to those landowners yet?
Yeah, no, as far as what we're going to do
Yep.
in the short time, I have not.
Okay, but you're still planning that for this fall, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to happen actually real shortly.
Okay,
Probably
but
next-
before the work gets done, you
Yeah.
need to notify them, let them know what's
Sure.
going on, so they don't think that that's going to be their permanent solution. All right. We're going to take just a 5-minute break. Okay, we'll proceed, reconvene the meeting here, and we'll go on to our 10 o'clock item, and it's right at 10 o'clock. And this is the bid opening for landfill scale. And Solid Waste Manager Kirk.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Essentially what this is it's something that I am very excited about. We're going to have a truck scale finally at the landfill. And so we put a bid out for the construction of it. We put a bid in the Clay County Union. We put a bid request in the Union, also the Fargo Forum, and also it's a piece of publication called Quest CDM. So we put it out to a wide variety. We got 3 responses to our bid. Essentially what the bid will be for is truck scale construction and entrance improvement. It'll be a 7-foot concrete deck scale and a concrete scale approach and ramps.
And as I said, it's very, very narrow what we're asking for. We're going to be doing quite a bit of work ourselves out there, along with the highway department, to help keep down the cost. Some of the things we've done already, we've relocated a couple of monitoring wells, and we've also removed a gas probe, and we'll be relocating that as well. We've also taken out a couple of the power lines overhead and moved them underground to get them out of the way as well. So we've done quite a bit of work as well on that. One of the things that I'm pretty excited about is we are going to be to help save some of the cost associated with this. And this was an issue when I first came on. Power plant, the deconstruction of the Moorhead power plant had wanted to use our landfill for some of the material. I thought it'd be better used to recycle the material. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be crushing the material and using it as part of the construction project of this bridge, or the truck scale. So with that, I brought my assistant, one of my assistants that makes me look very, very good on a regular basis, along to open up the bids. And I guess that
right.
that's where we're at, unless you have any questions at all.
And the deadline for bids was what time?
It's last Friday at 3 o'clock.
Okay, all right. So Colleen, I guess that's, all cameras are on you.
First bid is Celine.
Do we have bid sheets or anything?
No, I don't have a bid
Okay.
sheet, I'm sorry.
All right, that's fine. Typically, you don't come, typically we get copies of the bid sheets.
Okay.
Being new, you didn't know that.
I'm learning all the time, trust me, these guys are keeping me
Who's the
honest.
first bidder?
Celine Brothers from Holly. We have a bid bond. Looks like the total is $155,000 and $155,050.
Were there any addendums?
There was one addendum, and essentially what it was for an addition of one more camera.
Okay. Was that addendum
That was
acknowledged?
included in that.
Was it acknowledged in their bid?
Yes.
Okay.
Addendums acknowledged.
Okay.
Looks like two different ones listed. Prairie Scale Systems from Forest, North Dakota. And there's a cashier's check. Their total is $165,795. The third one is Kennedy Scales Incorporated, and that's out of Rutland, South Dakota. And they've included a cashier's check. And their total is $125,000, $125,700.
Have they acknowledged the addendums?
The camera.
Oh, okay. There's no note on there.
Okay. We only have three cameras. Yeah, they did not include the other camera. They only have three cameras. So they did not include it in the addendum. So it's an incomplete bid.
All right. I'd like to have Jenny review that to make sure that we're, so at this point in time, based on the bids that we have that are complete, the low bidder would be Celine.
Yes, sir.
But I would like, Jenny, I would like you to make sure that's reviewed on the third bid to make sure that there isn't something we missed there. And then we can finalize this at our next board meeting.
Sounds good.
There's appropriate time to do that, correct?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Okay, so let's just leave it at that, Tim, and then we'll get your recommendation and Jenny's recommendation up next week.
Sounds good. Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Good fishing trip.
I do have one more thing here. As a board, is this welcome to the City of Glennon. It was a letter that was addressed to me and several others regarding the public information meeting notice regarding the establishment of a wellhead protection plan for the City of Glendon. And I know that in all other wellhead protection plans, we've had representation on those committees by a member of our county commission. And I would like to see us submit some sort of a letter of request or something to the City of Glendon that we have Frank be represent Clay County as a member of their future wellhead protection committee, which they need to
I'll move that
establish.
we appoint Frank to be a member of that board.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same, motion carried. So, Vicki, can you send something to them on behalf of the board? Okay, anybody else have anything? If not, we are.
Brian.
Brian's update. I'm sorry, Brian. It's scattered around here today.
That's quite all right, I'm easily forgotten.
Yeah, well, easily amused, too.
Easily amused. Well, the first thing I have here, Mr. Chair, is that I did receive this email, and I thought maybe the sheriff would address it when he was in here just yesterday. It says on Friday, we are having a press conference on Friday at 10 a.m. in Dilworth at the Community Center. This conference is for DUI and TZD enforcement. They'd like to have a commissioner there to read the proclamation. Wondering if this would be on Friday at 10 a.m. in Dilworth. It's just kind of a DUI enforcement issue.
And I've already responded that I have a prior
Yep.
commitment, so.
Yep. Mm-hmm. We thought
Correct.
Commissioner Gross would volunteer today. Oh,
Well, I've got another thing in Barnesville that starts at 9. I don't know if I can, how long.
I'll try and move my 10:30 up a little bit. I can be there.
I don't think it would take very long. I'm just going by this memo, though.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I got it.
Oh, you did? Okay. Okay.
I see a copy of it.
Frank can do it. Good.
All right.
Thanks. Thank you very much. I'll let Bill know that. Okay, also, a few of these things have already been discussed, I think, in detail. One, I had on at a meeting with the Cass County Reference to Juvenile Center, and I think it is important that we point out, in addition to what they're terribly interested in, they were very excited about, is the programs that we have over it. Not only you talked about the educational part, but the counseling sessions and the treatment sessions that we've really bragged about that Benson program for sex offenders. They're sending people over to Mille Lacs as well, and when they were asked about it, they said they probably should be sending them to these programs. So just the programs itself are probably used a lot.
They are interested in things that we offer that might help with recidivism.
That's exactly right. Reduce the numbers that are coming in, you betcha. Highway tracking, I think you covered it fairly well, and it was the construction update that Dave Overbo handled to our district engineer. We did discuss budget within that meeting. We talked a little bit about the Tiger Grant and the letter of invitation that you all signed off on. And then we talked a little bit about the need of planning for building replacements. Out there we have like 8 sub-offices around the county, and I know Chair Campbell mentioned that we do have a internal construction fund that has been started, and we need to probably incorporate that into that program. So we'll work on doing that, looking at their needs and the improvements out in the county too. So I think that was a good suggestion. Maybe we talked about the spirit truck, that was addressed. We had a couple diversion advisory and administrative advisory committee meetings on that, and they were mostly dealing with the lawsuits and updates on that. In fact, the diversion board had a update on where the lawsuit was sitting, but there was no action taken, so really nothing to report on that issue. Quite a bit of work last week and yesterday on the budget. I think we're making good progress. I know we need to make a lot more progress, but we'll keep you informed and follow the direction that you folks want to pursue on that issue. Had some personnel meetings. Darren and I guess have been busy with those again. It seems like it's constant and ongoing, but with 400 employees, it's understandable. We had management team meeting. Really some good feedback on that. We offer a little bit of training each week, about a 10-minute update, and then we go over some issues that are important to some managers and hopefully keep them informed. The budget process takes quite a bit of time on that. The armor, we had a meeting yesterday morning on the armor, and that was well covered here in the meeting. And then we had picked this morning, and that was covered when Darren came up to talk about that. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Very good. With no other business, we will be adjourned.